sort of on what's controllable though, what's really interesting, and I love talking about this, is the you talk about Valentine's Day or any of these sort of big event, Prime Day, Black Friday, whatever it may be. It turns out for about 40% of our customer base, it's actually not worth doing any discounting at all. Don't do any discounting. And so the reasons are, and this part is controllable, right? This is one of the very few levers I guess you have on these big days is, do I discount or not? And if so, by how much? We've run lots of experiments. We've got lots of data on this. But if you're in one of these categories where you have a lot of repeat orders, there are a bunch of things that are going against you on these days. Number one is purely just on the customer acquisition cost side. It is much more expensive to acquire a new customer because CPCs are much higher, right? Number two is in terms of lifetime value, well, you're starting off on a pretty bad footing because you've given them a steep discount anyway, right? You're probably somewhere closer to break even, probably hardly making any profit at all. Number three, a huge chunk of these new to brand customers are deal hunting, right? So typically what happens is your customer retention rate drops a lot for people who were new to brand on Prime Day because they're just deal hunting. And so that's obviously really bad for lifetime value. And so your LTV actually decreases a lot. You also get, these are sort of second order or more minor effects, but these are also not good things. You'll get existing customers that would have bought on full price buying at a discount. And in extreme cases, we've seen existing customers buying bulk on a discount, which is obviously not what you want. So yeah, you've got all these sort of things that are counting against you. But there's one very big factor which can more than cancel out all of this, which is simply you get so many new to brands through the door that you would happily trade off some retention rates and some LTV, because in pure gross profit terms, the math still works out, right? But it's not clear. It's not clear, and that's sort of the deep dive, that I think people need to do to get a little bit savvier around this. And what level of discounting, or should you not even do it, or that kind of thing. So again, analyzing Prime Day, people always analyze their Prime days of like what happened during those 2 days, right? This is the amount of sales and all these kind of metrics, and it's like, well, we view them in a way as not vanity metrics, but they're not the most important metrics. What the most important metrics are, we have to wait 2 more months to see, right? We have to wait for what happened 3 months after Prime Day, right? Like how many of those people, what is the quality, quote unquote, of those customers, right? And is it, and how does the lifetime value compare to previous cohorts? That kind of thing. Yeah. Sorry, it's a bit of a tangent on all that, but I think that's quite an interesting sort of finding.
You are a numbers person, and in terms of what numbers impact and what are the events that surround those numbers, and so therefore you have a very good understanding of how to utilize those particular days and events, or whether it's controllable or external. One thing that I will say as part of the consideration for monitoring the numbers for those peak days is purely to get a sense of inventory replenishment in the future.
Right. Yeah.
Because yes, you may. So I mean, really, I never thought about it that way. But when you put it the way you put it, you really don't want any of these peaks, because they or fabricated peaks, because they are hurting you in the long run, and you don't want that. It makes total sense.